Because we've been saying for quite some time, the pressure is rising on the federal government to address the rapid decline in labour productivity in Australia. As the Reserve Bank Governor, Philip Lowe, has said, as recently as this week, this is adding pressure to wages inflation and therefore on the future of interest rates. Today, the Committee for Economic Development in Australia put out a new report that looks at ways companies can also help turn around our lagging productivity performance. And CEDA's Chief Executive is Melinda Cilento, who joins me now. Melinda, thanks for your time as always. Is this something that sits at the feet of government, or is it something that is a community-wide process to try and build the productivity growth in this country?
Look, I think the short answer, it's got to be business, government and community working together. The purpose of our work was really to look at what is the capacity and ability of business to evolve and innovate and transform itself in the face of emerging challenges and opportunities. And for all of the talk about the role of government, which of course is important, it's fascinating that there really hasn't been a focus on the dynamic capabilities of business. And our work with UTS is the first broad survey of its kind.
Because we're looking here at a chart which is basically showing the productivity, GDP per hours worked, has really fallen off a cliff in this last little period of time. Some of your recommendations: a greater innovation policy, to be careful of over-regulation, to attract skilled migrants and expats, dynamic aged care and welfare services, and greater dynamism across firms. That dynamism is the key that you see to really creating better productivity outcomes. So what does that mean?
Well, look, let me just say, the aggregate productivity numbers I think people are well aware of. But one of the things that we've been focused on for some time now is that if you look at the frontier of highest productivity across businesses, that Australia's been falling away from that as well across different sectors. And so we really wanted to understand what are the dynamic capabilities of Australian businesses. What we found is that, I'd say we think they're good, that Australian businesses have good dynamic capabilities, but not great dynamic capabilities, and there's certainly room for improvement. I think really importantly, the firms that we surveyed that had the strongest dynamic capabilities were the firms that outperformed. They had strong productivity growth, they had strong net profit growth, but they also delivered better outcomes in terms of employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction.
Is it as simple as replacing staff with robots, effectively taking away, if you like, some of the manual labour that's in there, improving productivity through automation, and then having higher paid skilled workers who are controlling the robots and the automated processes?
I think it's a little bit more complicated than that, Ross. There's sort of two buckets of capabilities that we think about when we look at firm performance. The first is ordinary capabilities, and they're the capabilities that you have that look at how you can make your business as usual more efficient. So managing your day-to-day operations and processes, how can you become as efficient as possible? We know that those capabilities are really important, and we know that they're important in explaining the gap in productivity, say, between the US and Australia. But dynamic capabilities are about how you actually transform your business. And I think what we're saying is, and what we see in our results, is it has to be both of those, and that focusing too much on just the efficiency piece means that you're not going to get the performance that you need. So how do you create the space, the slack and the agility to be thinking about how you can sense and identify new opportunities, how you can seize those opportunities, and then how over time you transform your business to survive and thrive in the face of future challenges.
Okay, so I'm thinking about somebody here who might be, say, running, take something simple, a motel. Beds have to be made every day. Linen has to be processed. There's a certain number of hands that are required to do those jobs. It doesn't matter how fast you want your workers to go. You can't really make it faster. The option might be is if you own 5 motels, you might be actually more efficient in the way in which you deal with these things. Are these some of the ways in which companies become more dynamic, potentially just by being bigger and having scale?
I think that's part of it, Ross, but I think the other part of it is thinking about what are the other services you provide through your hotel to make it a more interesting experience and engaging experience for your customers, so that you can get more customers in, or different customers, or grow your business in ways that you might not have anticipated. It's not quite the example of hotels or hospitality, but one of the case studies that we cite in our report is a company called International Medical Robotics Academy, and they actually train people to use robotics to improve the medical procedures. And what they realised was that to train people, you have to have something to train on. And they started creating synthetic body parts, expanded their business that way. So beyond just the training that they did, they're now creating synthetic body parts that can be used to train and outside of their business as well. So a different example, but one that sort of shows how businesses are evolving and transforming themselves.
Just a really simple one here, very quickly. Are you confident that productivity growth in Australia can improve in the future?
Well, in some ways, I think I am, because it has to. We absolutely have to start really focusing on this. I've talked to others and sort of said there's too many reforms that we've known about for too long that are really important. It sounds like a little bit of rats and mice, but everyone's been talking about things like occupational licensing for so long. I think we're now starting to see that if we don't really drive productivity performance, it is going to weigh on future prosperity and living standards. So I guess I'm in the camp of saying that I think we're now at an inflection point, if you like, where I think the focus is there, and both business and government are going to have to work together to set the right conditions to enable productivity. And for business, looking at how they can create the space within their organisations to grow these dynamic capabilities and seize future opportunities.
Melinda Cilento, great to have you on the program today. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you.